box, I was 20 years of age. 20 years of age. In the 1960s.
I had a pull of one of them levers the other day. I bet you couldn't pull one if you were younger than that, could you?
The hardest ones to pull, they were all colour coded. The red ones were signals, the black were points, the red ones, the yellow ones, signals, were distant signals, and they could be 3/4 of a mile away, and you had to pull those, and they were on pulleys, well greased, you hope. And the worse, the easier went when it was raining. It made the signal easier because it was wet. The wires used to run on little round pulleys all the way from Irlam past Glazebrook East Box, which can be seen on camera. And that's an outer distance signal. But that indicates to the driver that he's right away. That's an old railway saying, you're right away. And he knows he was right away up the banking, over the Ship Canal, when he saw that distant signal approaching Glazebrook East. Now it's colour lights and
computers, isn't it?
And it's 1 yellow, 2 yellow, red. It's that system.
How long could these lines go for then? You say 3/4 of a mile, could they go longer than that?
There was a limit, and they had to, I think they introduced electrics to help the signalman later on. But when I was still on there, you had a winder at the side to slacken it off, so it wasn't as hard to pull. But there was no guarantee you'd get it in the off position. So it was only half cock sort of thing. To a driver, it should be showing green, and it's not as high enough, so it'll be half red, half green. The driver of this train doing 70 miles an hour steam, he hasn't got time he's got to make a decision. If not, he shuts off, he's got to treat it as danger. A good lampy wouldn't make work for himself. He'd have a nice clean wick that just burnt. Anything that goes black and neglected, you don't get a good light. It all reflects back to the drivers, doesn't it? You know, you've got to work together. You know, I respect that driver. He could have 50 years service on the railway, and I'm a young signalman, but he's got the same respect for me as I have for him. I'm making sure where he's going from A to B, he's doing it safely. And he used to nod as they were passing. You know,
Did you get to know him?
You only ever got to know him, not really, no. It's
you know the faces, but you
the 11 o'clock from Liverpool Lime Street in the morning, and he came through, you could see the smoke in the distance, and he knew, passing Glazebrook East, approaching Irlam, he had to get the speed up to get up the banking. Right? He didn't want to slow down there because that's hard work, and he used to pass Irlam Box, and he'd just give you a nod like that, thank you, that were enough. Hard work, you know, for a driver, and he might have 10 coaches on, 700 people. His job was to get people up there. That banking is a tremendous hike over the canal. The worst thing was transfer from steam trains to diesel multiple units, the rail car as you know today, because, to put it this way, if a steam train goes from left to right, a DMU was to go up and down. And when you pull a set of points out, you had to have a locking bar, a blue one, and if it wouldn't lock, the detectors weren't in line, and you couldn't get your points, you sent out for the signal lineman. And he said it's this transition of movement on the rail base to do with the locking system between the diesel multiple units and the steam trains used to go. So it's feasible. The traffic that came in, the petrol that went to British Tire Products in Cadishead, the oil that went down there, the other industry, the steelworks, the bogie bolsters, used to call them, and we always get the Warrington drivers would give me 10 minutes to go. We couldn't let him go until the express had gone, and they opened up, and it was a long, about 8 bogie bolsters with rods on, taking it to Rylands at Warrington, coming out of the sidings. There was a lot of stone trains coming out the sidings. Very, very busy, Glazebrook. If I said to you, you could leave Manchester Piccadilly at 10 o'clock in the morning, and you get in London at 12:30, 2 hours 30. The next day, the fog has come down. It's a pea super, right? And he leaves at 10 o'clock on time, and he still gets there at 12:30. How does he do it? If you're ever on a train, the driver sets out, and the first signal is green. And he will get, and I don't think I'm passing trade over it, he will get a ringing sound. And that tells the driver it's on green. So he can open the train up. And it'd be well before, half a mile before, he will get another ring. That's on green. So he'll just open the train up 80, 100 mile an hour. If he got a there, he knows not, he's got to shut off. He could get there, it could change to green by the time he gets there, so that's not too bad. In other words, it's 2 yellows, 1 yellow or red, and that's his stopping distance. Green, 2 yellows, 1 yellow, red. But if he keeps getting the ring, it's green all the way, does it in 2.5 hours. The equipment in the signal box is interesting. That you mentioned fog early on the detonators system. Now that was a separate lever. I think it was coloured brown. If you hadn't got the clearance to go, and it was an express, you couldn't afford, you pull the lever, and there's a mechanism lifted up, a detonator. It was a round disc, the size of a 50p, half an inch thick with 2 lead straps. And when the driver went over and bang, it would go like that. You think, oh, what's up? And he'd shut off. It's a safety thing. Guards carried them to protect the trains. They had them in the signal boxes, and they used to be hung up like medals. And if you said there's a runaway or something, you don't know if the driver's all right, you'd grab those detonators with lead straps, run down the steps and put them on the line the best you could, watching the trains coming. And I think it's 3 metres apart, bang, 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 quick, the driver would shut off on that train. I remember detonators, but they had a lifespan, and they changed colour every year, and the ministry, whoever's in charge, British Rail, issued different coloured detonators, and that was equipment in there. A nice sink in a signal box with carbolic soap as well. It was all that, cleaning material, because every day the station master, in my case it was Mr. Collins at Irlam, and he'd come along, morning, everything all right, Brian? Yes, thank you, sir. Sir. And he'd come in and he'd signed the book. And he'd been in attendance, everything all right? Ding, I said, just a minute, Mr. Collins, get on with my work. Your respect. It was the respect for the uniform as well. He was a nice man. Yeah. And if he's got relatives around here, they might, hear me say, but he was a nice man.
Yeah. And so it's great. So how did you make a brew? Did you have the old gas rings and everything?
Yeah, and the old gas ring, everything was piped in. What they did with the old gas pipes, I don't know. But the stove was the main, the black enamel stove with a big grate at the front. You could put a meat of potato pie on top of there.
What about toilets?
Yeah, there was one at the corner, yeah, that was flush, yeah.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Yeah, your timing's got to be good, doesn't it? Your timing had to be good, and the ding ding is you're on your own. But at night time, I used to always lock the door. I read all about it today, that places have to have wire mesh guards put up. They're still doing it today, vandalising. But I used to make sure, I preferred to have had a dog, that would have been better, but you weren't allowed. No. It was like a private residence, a signal box. You were on duty and you're very responsible.
It feels like it was nice and toasty, does it? You
very
fire.
And then you go in the corner, I don't know what the box are like, the sliding corner windows. They used to slide out, they didn't open on latches. In those days, now with being a Victorian box, for me, I don't know, and they slide out with a metal tube, that's where you stuck your flag. If you wanted the driver to stop, you didn't hold it. If the bells are ringing and you got to attend, you'd stick in like a holder.
You were talking about blacking these stoves and things. Tell me about that, because people won't realise what you had to do.
It was black I'm trying to think where we got the stuff from now. But I think the station master, the station provided it, because they had stoves in the waiting rooms, big roaring fires. But the stoves themselves, if you don't, they get discoloured, and another signal might not be as clean and tidy as another. But when it was cold, that way, you got in there and it looked a dull, matte finish. And with the other brush, you did that and it gleamed, and it was black, like black enamel, and it came up the black enamel. The chimney, you burn anything on that. But coal-wise, a bit of Best Yorkshire, the lovely white ash.
Plenty of coal about, I suppose,
Yeah.
was there?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, there's plenty of coal about. It's get it off the trains.
What about all the brass? There's plenty of brass in there.
Yeah,
wasn't there?
you had equipment, a lot of signalmen, because the cast steel, the top part of the lever, were cold and that, and don't forget different ones. You had a cloth, and I always had a cloth. I mean, you see signalman throw it over his shoulder, and he had a cloth, and he'd go around. It's not, you know, and the equipment, the brasses, I used to have it clean, very clean. So when the station master came up, he was happy.
We'll go and have a look in there in a minute, but I know when they started electrifying some of these levers, what did they do to the levers?
The box, at the bottom of the lever, there was a box about 8 inch square. And as I say, on the instruments, if I'd call the attention and sent a train on to Flixton, in Flixton box, he'd have to turn that to acceptance. And I want to pull the lever at the back, click, and I'm looking up, click. I cannot pull it until he accepts it. And the electric box clicked it then. That's relayed from Flixton. And then the big bar, click, and pull it over. I haven't been out putting grease between the points. If I've got a train in Irlam station and I'm going to back it into sidings, root the engine off and run round. That way, if them points are not greased, it's hard work. And if you had winter, you put salt on to stop them freezing up, but the salt took the grease away. So they got to grease them again.
Yeah.
But they have one of the men that worked for the plate layers, and it was very, very foggy in those days. He used to sit at the end of the platform on the other side, because there was 3 or 4 signals there. And then when the signals were at danger, and he used to put a detonator on the line, he had a big open fire, and he'd sit there freezing all night. And then, if you seen the signals come off, he'd check it off the line. As a warning. What a job that was. Sat there all night watching the signals, put it on, take it off.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's what they did in them days for safety. It was a safety thing.
And this incline going up to the canal here, you could probably hear the engine, could you then?
Oh yeah, when they open up, and they've got to get the grip, especially. And just past the station, past the Liverpool Road Bridge, and it should be still there now, there's a set of traps. Meaning, when you go over them, the lines will close automatic, because the train's going that way. Should the train stop and run back, I'm afraid it would, because the points the traps open, it would send the train down the embankment. You cannot have it run back into the station to meet another train behind it. It's the less of two evils. And it was laid down, it would still be there. If a train broke, it was called, say, a snap coupling. We've had them, and they're running back, they've got to come down the embankment onto Liverpool Road, I'm afraid. Worse than running free all the way back to Glazebrook, and you've got an express train coming. It didn't happen, but it was a safety called trap points. But to put a fallacy to rest, when you watch the films in America with John Wayne fighting on a train, and he pulls the coupling, the Buckeye coupling as it's called then, and the train parts, and that off they carry on. Sorry, when the train parts, air rushes in and your brakes come off. But you never see that in a John Wayne film. It's true though,
Yeah.
it carries on.